Good morning and welcome to my live podcast. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to fight CPS and hang on to your children. I really like having you in my room. I know some of you may be at the Zoom meeting with Mr. Davis this morning at the same time, hoping that he will help you also. Now, I'm a family man. I've been through a lot. I have been encountered in CPS. And it's been a horrible, horrible experience. It's not the most pleasant experience. Now, there are several ways that you can participate in this live podcast. First way is just be in this room. I love to have you in this room, and it's all you have to do is listen and take notes. Now, I do share stories about CPS and what to do and how to get your children back or how to hang on to your children and how not to involve yourself with CPS because it's a bad entity. They've stolen my children. I went through a miserable experience, 5 years of false allegations, and then 3 years where they stole my children that weren't in imminent danger. And so I really know where you're coming from, and I want to help you with your case. It's a hard thing to fight, and also, it takes a specialized person. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I've learned a lot over these last 15 years being on this podcast. And now there's emojis you can use, smiley faces, thumbs up, hearts that you can use. Also, I have stars that you can give me. Please check below if you want to subscribe to my podcast. I'd love to have you. Also, please click the notification you want to hear where my podcast comes on. Now, a second way to interact with this podcast is to type me a comment. Now, all you have to do is type me a comment or a question, and it has to pertain to CPS. And please show your first name and your city or county and the state. Now, if you're outside the U.S., which I have right now 14 countries, all I need is your province or state and your city and country. And as I say, I have 14 countries, and all 50 states have talked to me or sent comments and so forth, including to Washington, D.C. Now, try to be complete with your case. tell me much as you can before you start with your questions or comments. It's like your family structure, also how the children's ages and sex, and the allegations against you, and maybe in detail. And then also, I need to know. I need to know how the children were taken from you. And that's really important because I'm trying to do a survey around the country, around the world. And um, it's interesting how the child protection system, many agencies have gone rogue, meaning they're corrupt, they're not transparent, they're in it for money. It's a money making business. There's trillions of dollars being spent, and it's really, really sad. Also, you need to show too where you're at on your case, and that helps me out a lot. Now, the third way to be on my podcast, I really hope that you do this, is to contact my show producer. Her name is Grace, and you can be a guest on my show. All you have to do is email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she'll help you get on the show. All you need to do is tell her which show. Now, I have 14 shows. I'm on 7 days a week. I'm on a Monday through Sunday. I come on at 10 o'clock in the morning at Pacific Standard Time for an hour, and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time for an hour. There are exceptions. On Sunday, I come on early so I can attend church. So I'm on at 8 o'clock at 8 a.m. That's 2 hours earlier. And then on Friday nights, I try to go to my son's football games. They have it every Friday night and have a game next Friday. So I have a new time on Friday. Not a new time, but the time. This last Friday was 4 o'clock. I have no idea what it will be this Friday, but I'll keep you informed. And so you send her the email, pick out the morning time or evening time in the day, and then she'll give you a link to StreamYard, which is the application I use on YouTube that I'm broadcasting live. So I really value as a guest because you can talk freely, see the comments, and help me. It really is nice. And thank you, Dana Hoffman, for the emoji. I appreciate that. And thank you all for listening. Now, the fourth thing that I have you doing is the call into my number. Now, my office number is up. It's 626-698-0990. And I gladly talk to you. It rings directly to my phone. I use Vonage. I can't text on it right now because the texting is not working. But I can receive phone calls. But I only talk during my show hours. So if you call me before my show hours or after, I can't talk to you. But I am live now, and so you guys could call in. Now, we can go lots of ways in this podcast. You can text me a comment. You can call me or be a guest. I also have topics that we could talk about, like ICWA, the 1970 Indian Child Welfare Act, or the 388 motion, or anything else. I have over 75 topics open up, and I'll try to help you. Now, we can also talk about social workers and the CPS system. And I have my 5 rules. Also, I have Courage Digest. All I need is some direction of how you want to go. How you want to go. Now, I usually have my regulars in the room, and I'm going to see what they're up to right now. Now, one thing I will tell you about the social workers, they're very corrupt. They're not transparent. Example, what kind of social workers you're going to encounter are my pink lady friends in Prescott, Arizona. Now, pink is a symbol about breast cancer, but these social workers for the child protection system, and I call that, which is the branch of social service that protects our children from neglect and abuse, also supposed to help out families with food, clothing, housing, and education, medical, and a job. They take apart the family, do family reunification. Those are the 3 things the social workers are entrusted to do so. They also provide transportation too. But these pink ladies took upon themselves to stencil on the front of their t-shirts, professional child kidnappers. On the back, they asked the parents, do you know where your children are at? And that's an awful thing to parade around with those t-shirts. in front of the public at Costco and Target and Walmart and Best Buys and Kmart and all the other big department stores. It sent a wrong message. That's what you social workers think about your children. They're just a piece of comedy that they can take, put them into foster care, which is corrupt, and have them adopted. And that is bad. Not all social workers are like that, but over 500 some people I've talked to here have expressed that, and me too, because I was involved. And so, I mean, I was terribly for 5 years. Lay people, my in laws, my wife's mother, father, three sisters, and a brother were calling in every week complaining that we weren't taking care of our children. That was because when I lost my job at the age of 60 in 2010, they thought I couldn't find work and that we were going to fail. We had a big, beautiful home with high end mortgage payments. We lived at the beach, but I was able to hang on to the home till I finally had to get an attorney. I sold my home after 40 years of working for it, and I got myself an attorney that helped save my children. Now, these social workers, prayed around until they were caught and they were fired, all 8 of them. And that was in Prescott, Arizona in the year 2022. Something else I was about Prescott is that's the movie where Billy Jack was filmed. There's a lot of Indian reservations there. And so that is a place that is very poor. It's one of the poorest places in the country. And without that, wiped out all the social workers, the Department of Children's Services there at DCS. There was one left. Even the director was fired because he should not have let that happen. That's wrong. And if that's not wrong, let me tell you about my case. I have 6 children. 3 are older, grown up, and 3 are young. And I've been with my wife for 32 years, and she and I were finally forced to go to dependency court, and the police were involved because for 5 years I'd show them my house and they couldn't find anything wrong. So they're determined, they're fishing, and they like to retaliate. These social workers are bad. The policeman that stopped me was a detective. He had been following me, and he told me he insisted me go home, and I did not know the rules about entering the home or letting social workers in or giving up your children. You know, my constitutional rights and civil rights I did not know. I did not know about CPS. These are things I learned for the 15 years. You see, you're not supposed to talk to CPS. You're not supposed to open your home to them. And you certainly don't want them inspecting your home or taking your children. You're not supposed to give your children. They need several things. They need permission from you, or they need a court order, which is a warrant, and it's got to be a legitimate court order. And they, before they could take your children, and they seem to do lately. A lot of the social workers are corrupt, and they do that. In fact, my social worker did not have a college degree or a high school, very little training. She was young, and all she talked about was the bonus she got for her Gucci purse, her BMW car, her clothing, her accessories, her eyelashes. It was terrible. It was so, so terrible. It really hurt me really, really, really bad. So what it really happened was this case of mine is when she got on the witness stand, or not the witness stand, but the stand where you're in court. She was being in, she was being asked about what kind of parents are my wife's sister and husband, because they wanted to adopt her young daughter. And he asked her, was there any domestic violence? And she bragged there were great parents and no domestic violence. Well, she committed perjury, because Vincent took out a folder with reports, and the report shows many cases of domestic, but physical domestic violence, where they were hitting each other, and there was no place for a young child to be at. So she was embarrassed. She left the witness stand, and then she told us parents, "You'll never see your daughter again." She had revenge. I could not believe it. In the state of California, you can be 12 years old and emancipate from your parents, which is wrong, which is totally wrong, and so forth here. Good morning. And who is this?
This is Brianna.
Oh, hi, Brianna. You're Brianna from Riverside. I'm in from San Bernardino County that you got a case on, and it's involving 5 children, right?
Yes.
And it was really unreal, because somehow the child protection services, or the system there, was able to put your father of the children, incarcerate him, which was unreal that they could do that.
Yeah, it is. It's very unreal. So much so that, I've never heard of anything like it, and I hope not to, but, you never know. Things like that happen. Well, I know since I went through it, so that's why I shared that story. But, I don't know, is there anything else you want to know about that, or?
Well, I'd like to know, you said that he's done with his incarceration. He's back home, right?
Yeah. After a year and a half, he was in jail for about a year, and then he did
so what's the status? What's the status of your? No, what's your status of your children?
Oh, well, my children, as far as I know, I have 5, and 4 are adopted out, unfortunately. But the fortunate part about that is they're with family. Although my youngest son, Cloud 9, he is, I don't know where he's at. He's not with family. They would not place him with any of my relatives. They wouldn't even give me a case plan.
Now, you don't have a case plan to get your children back. They don't want family reunification, right?
Well, I did, and I know what you're saying, but with me, I did have that option. The judge court ordered reunification services, and for my firstborn, I actually did I went and I did. They wanted me to do 90 days, and they gave me a choice of either outpatient or inpatient. And at first, I tried out the outpatient, and I just wasn't. I don't know. I just didn't like it, so I ended up going inpatient. And inpatient was basically a lockdown facility. I couldn't go anywhere. It was totally stay put. You do your program for 90 days. Well, I did 90 extra days. Mm-hmm. I always kept clean, random, I mean, you name it. I did it all. And they still adopted my daughter out.
Oh, that's such a terrible thing. So what is CPS now? What are you doing with CPS now?
I'm basically, I've been there, done that. So I mean, it's pretty much, I'm just focused on my youngest. I don't know where he's at, and I'm doing my best, trying to find him, because I'm just not okay with just leaving him. Even if I'm pretty sure they probably did adopt him, somebody that I don't even know, but I'm not okay. Every day I wake up and it's not okay to just like, oh, okay, he's taking care of. No, he's not my baby. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know, cooking that we just forget. Like, oh yeah, I had a baby. Yeah, that's my baby. Like, he will always be my son, and I will never stop looking for him, and I will never stop fighting. To at least, even if it's just to get, like, I'm even fighting for visitation between him and his brothers and sisters, So, and I kind of got something going with that, and that's a good thing that I got. At least that, at least I'll be content knowing that at least they have that. Even if I don't get to, at least I know, okay, I know he's in Riverside County, but my other children, my daughter, Ariel, and my son, Max and Kyle, which Kyle, they renamed him to Josiah, so it's not Kyle anymore, it's Josiah.
Well, we don't want to, you can use the ages, but we don't want to use the names of children.
Okay.
We don't use the names of children or judges or social workers.
Yeah, they're with my sister. My sister she adopted them.
So do you have any contact at all with them?
No. And that I mean, that's the other side to that, is that this whole situation, or whatever you want to call it, is totally tarnished whatever relationship I did have with my sisters. I mean, I don't know what happened there, but they basically, how I feel, I'm just, expressing my point of view and how it actually did go, like the way it went, is they basically went against me, like they went with CPS, and that's another reason why I didn't get my kids, my children back, was because they were basically working with CPS to, do what they do.
Now, you said early on Vincent Davis was involved. What did he do for you?
Well, with my second-born, I had just given birth to her, and this was in Escondido County. And I remember, I think this is when he just started, like, I think he was on YouTube already by that time. I'm not too sure. But anyways, I was just out, for my firstborn, I had already started, like, my research and very, this is where I started to learn all these things, well, how they really work and what's going on and what they do it for and stuff like that. Anyways, I found him online, and I basically, I went to go visit her for our first visit, and she was only like 7 days old, and I didn't know what to do, so I was devastated. Like, the second time they did this, I didn't have no clue. I was just like, oh my God, if they really do what they did the first time, how they adopted out my firstborn, I didn't know what would become of me, So I called him up and I asked him, and I basically explained to him the situation. And I did not, let me clarify this, I did not hire him, but he did give me some advice, and it worked. I mean, I can't remember what he said, but basically the directions that he gave to me, and when I went to the social services, tell her what he said, they returned her with no questions asked. And that was that. There wasn't even a case open with her.
Wow.
That's how, yeah. I mean, it was like, I don't know what I could do to, repay him, or like, there's nothing that was like priceless. And I'll forever be grateful for him doing that. And yeah, so they didn't go through with the hearing with her, and they just basically closed whatever. It wasn't even a case, so I don't know what you would call that. It got dismissed basically, and they left us alone. And I had my other three after her, but yeah, that's the last time I actually did speak to him.
Well, where do you want to go with your case now? I know you want to talk about your case, but where do you want to go with it?
Well, not so much my case. I like I said, I've already been there, done that. I want to share the things that I know, like don't sign anything unless you do have a attorney present, and anything that is involving CPS, you must tell them that. You need to tell them whether you do or you don't. But hopefully you do, retain an attorney, because you're going to need one, and not the regular public. What do they call it? The public defender.
Yeah, the public defender. That's really hard.
Yeah, no. That's set up for failure. I don't care what they tell you, because they will not help you. And that's guaranteed you're going to lose your kid. Straight off the bat, I'll just tell you like that.
Well, they have a caseload. Let me tell you and the people listening in this room what the problem is with a public defender. Let me get here to my case here. A public defender is somebody that just has a criminal law background. They do not have juvenile family dependency law backgrounds, which you're in. Also, they have a caseload of 30 or more clients, so they don't have time for your case. They will not fight for your case, and a lot of them are in cahoots with the court, the friends of the judge, friends of the social worker, attorneys, friends of social. They're paid by social, social workers. And so they're conflict of interest. Plus, they won't fight for you. It's kind of a waste of time. I'm not saying don't use them, because that's all you may have, but you need to go out and get a real attorney. And I want to tell you about my attorney, Vincent Davis, right now. He just has offered a Zoom discount, and it was for $60, but now he's offering it for free. He just told me the other day that you can have a discounted Zoom consultation with Mr. Davis for 30 minutes at no charge. All you need to do is go to https://candly.com/apptsvwd/Bob Pace, and he'll talk to you. He'll tell you how to navigate in the child protection. Also, if you want to hire him, he's available too to be hired. He can be retained, because you're with an agency that's very corrupt, and he knows. He has fought CPS. He has done that further. He is a trial attorney, and he has done them civil lawsuits, both federal and state, and won millions of dollars. So he's the real deal. He's a pit bull. So please contact him. You have nothing to lose now. He's dropped his fee of $60. He's free for 30 minutes. He wants to help you all. He has a Zoom meeting right now for questions, answers at 10 o'clock every Saturday. And you can join his school. And the school will tell you about a lot of things too. He tries to help people out. He knows that a lot of people don't have the funds and don't have the things like that. So he knows that.
Well, I did say that. I mean, he helped me. I mean, like I said, he helped me get my daughter back, and they dropped the case that was supposed to be a case that never. Your call is parked in spot 1. Please complete your transfer now.
Okay. I've lost my person that called in, and I don't understand that. Let me see here. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Complete your transfer now. Your call is parked in spot 1. Please complete your transfer now. Your call is parked in spot 1. Please complete your transfer now. Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Brianna, this is Bob Pace trying to get back to you. Somehow I lost your call.
Hello?
Yeah, Brianna, I lost you. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If
you hear music in the background, it's my grandmother's. She listens to the radio, her Christian radio station.
That's okay. That's okay. It's not too bad. I don't hear it. So,
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, what was I saying? He helped me, so.
well, can you explain to the audience what he actually did or said?
He just, I was frantic at the time. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn, and I had just did like a quick Google search, and I just called him on. He answered. Thank God, because I was just like, oh my God, please answer, please answer. It was early morning too, and I was actually at the CPS office going to see my newborn daughter for the first time since she was taken from me from the hospital, and I just basically told him what they did, and he just.
Well, I meant, what was the thing he was telling you? What I'm trying to get is the specifics, so I could share that with the audience. You hear me okay? I keep losing you.
Brianna.
Yeah, hi, Brianna. I don't know if I keep losing you. I don't know why. I'll call you back.
Hello. Please state your name after the tone, and Google Voice will try to connect you.
Yeah, Brianna's Bob Pace. I keep losing you.
Hello?
Yeah, I keep losing you. I'm back again.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. We were talking about um we were talking about um
How Vince got my case basically
yeah.
dismissed.
Well, I meant yeah, what was the specifics? I mean, if that makes any sense.
Let's see, because everything that they use is the same exact. How would you say? It's almost like I feel like even with the warrant that they shared me with my youngest, I feel like they just have like printed out paperwork that they just basically already have, put together, like copy and paste type thing, and they just sign it, if it is this, but it's basically they said that, and it wasn't even them, it was a anonymous phone call that was made. Now this anonymous phone call has followed me through each of my children's births. And that is, somebody made allegations that I was a drugster and that I was in a domestic violence relationship. What else? I forgot what else they said, but that was the main, Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, so it all stemmed from a anonymous phone call. It could have been anybody, which it was. It was just somebody that just happened to call the hotline, and
Yeah.
the person, according to law, they don't have to reveal themselves, and you will never get to know who that is. Never. Like, that is why they call it an anonymous, reporter. But it's the fact that that they called to a mandated reporter that has to, by law, to go ahead and investigate the report. So, you there?
Yeah, I am. I was just typing my notes. And so if you hear some type in the background, I keep notes of everything. Now, what would you tell our listeners that they should do about CPS? What are some things that they should not do or be careful about CPS?
First, whether it's in your house, or hopefully they don't go into your house, because I wouldn't. My advice would be not to open the door at all, and unless, and I mean like literally unless you have your attorney present, and whatever your attorney tells you to do, then go with their advice. But do not.
Well, another reason why we don't want to open our door, there's been several people shot recently opening the door, point blank. There was a airman from the Air Force who's a young 23 guy in Gainesville, Florida. He opens the door, and the sheriff right away fired 5 bullets into his chest, 6 inches away. And he was talking to his girlfriend on FaceTime, and he died on the phone to her. So think about what her feelings are about losing the guy that she loves.
I don't mean to interrupt you. I have really back PTSD from my own. I have a family member that was killed by the police, so just kind of, just no police. Like, if you really can avoid the police, please do. And it's crazy because that's what they use. It's almost like a fear tactic that they use. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. They call the police to escort them, and like they do every time when they came to take every time I had a child, they came with the police every single time to take away my children. And that was the only way I guess they could take them, because they couldn't come in by themselves. So, that's their little loophole. You know, what's it called? Like a catch-22 or something.
Yeah. So, now, we've had Faye, who's a single mom, just joined us from Richmond, Kentucky. She has a question for you. Okay. Brianna says hi, and her question, Faye asked, how did Vince help her case? How did it help? What was the main thing that helped your case with Vince? Explain that to Faye.
He helped me get my daughter back in my custody with no questions asked. Like, I basically got I had just left the CPS building from visiting her. It was my very first visit from the time we were separated at the hospital, and she was only like a week old, 7 days old. She was barely born, you know. And I called him, and I was just distraught, and you have it. And then I asked him, what do I do? And he just basically gave me advice, and he told me exactly what to do. And I went, and I did just that. And so once I left from the visit, I went to the store or shopping or something. And I remember I was in the parking lot putting like the groceries away or something. And I had a voicemail, and I checked the voicemail, and sure enough, it was the social worker telling me, hey, come pick up your daughter. She's ready. And I was like, oh my God. And that was it. I never heard from CPS ever again. Like, they didn't even say it. That was it. They just said, come pick up your daughter, and that was that. And I couldn't tell you how fast I went to go pick her up. But that was one of the best. I mean, honestly, that was literally one of the best days of my life, because I thought I was never going to see my daughter again. Like, to the point of, by that I mean, like, because my firstborn was adopted out, regardless of everything that I did to get her back, I thought like, oh, they're just going to do it. It's going to be same old thing, I might as well, I already like accepted that I wasn't going to see her after like her first birthday,
Yeah, Faye has another question. What is it he did to do that? What is he did to do that to get your daughter back?
I had a consultation on the phone with him.
So she had a consultation, Faye, and what did he say the steps to get your daughter back?
I mean, I'm trying to remember, because so much has gone on.
I know. This is going to help out Faye and other people that are listening in this room.
Yeah. He just basically, this advice would pretty much work for a new mother, or I could give you advice. What's worked for me is make sure you have a folder or a notebook, and every time you go visit your children, you need to document that. And when you document that, you need to make separate copies. By that I mean you could copy it, but that's going to be kind of difficult. But what I did is I handwrote everything. So I would say, okay, I, Brianna Janae Collins, I'm here to see, I put my children's names, and then I put the date, and then I would go up to because they have, I don't know which county, everyone's in, but the county I was in is San Bernardino County, and they had what's called I don't know if it's a clerk or what their name is, but the lady at the front desk.
They are called clerks. There's the courtroom a clerk. Yeah. There's the record a clerk.
Yeah, well, it's not a court. It's the office, CPS office. So
the CPS officers. I think they're just called secretaries.
They have like secretaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like secretaries up front, and so I would go up to them, and I would basically take my my little papers that I made the memo, And I would ask them, I would tell them, I wouldn't ask, I would tell them, you have to tell them. You have to be firm with what you're saying. And I said, I need for you to timestamp this. So that is, oh my gosh, that would have saved me so much if I had known that ahead of time. So,
well, Faye further asked, most of us already do that, but I mean, what was the key factor?
No, I'm making a point because most people don't know this. I'm telling you, I know for sure, because if they did, there'd be a lot less, probably a lot less, cases out there. And so I'm telling the listeners out there that you need to make your own reports. You need to start documenting everything that you do from the moment you walk into that office, and whatever you're doing in the office, whether you're visiting or you're talking to a social worker or their superior or a supervisor or whatever, you need to make sure it's dated and put a time on it. And you have them, and as far as I know, they have a timestamp in their office, and they can't say no to you. So you give them your paperwork, and they have to timestamp every paper.
Yeah, but the biggest thing that Faye is trying to understand is that typically when you lose one children, you lose them all. And in Kentucky, they're that corrupt. And so she wants to know how you're able to lose your other children, but get that child back.
Because with my daughter Ariel, they basically they lied, like straight on. I mean, they lied. But I mean, when I say they lied, I had actual proof. I had my medical records, because they tried to say that I had. I don't know if I could say it. I don't know. Is there certain words I can say on here? Or
well, you said that you showed them your medical records, that you're not mentally incapable.
No. My medical records. So from when I had given birth to my daughter.
Oh, you showed them your birth of your daughter?
No. When I had my daughter at the hospital, the CPS, they came and took my daughter because they claimed that I was a drug addict.
But then how did Vincent get that daughter returned to you if you lost the other children?
He gave me advice on, and I didn't know any of this, but they're not allowed to test the baby. The only thing they can test is, I don't know how to say the word.
Oh, so they're not allowed to test the baby in the hospital.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Is that a California law? Because in Kentucky, they test babies and mothers all the time in the hospital.
I mean, as far as in California, I know that for a fact it's not lawful. So, but regardless, it wasn't because of that. It was they lied, and they lied to obtain only because of the my past with my first daughter. So my name is in the it's called the CACI, CACI, and it's the Child Abuse Index Registry. So as soon as I was TPR'd for my firstborn, and it wasn't even for child abuse, it was for general neglect. How do you general neglect a newborn in the hospital? So he basically told me that I had to tell the social worker that, they're basically like full of baloney, and that they need to return her immediately. Because if not, I was going to hire him, and he was going to, represent me. Maybe his name ring a bell to them. I don't know, but whatever, it's sure. I mean, they immediately returned her, and I mean immediately, within hours. And all I heard was, "Come pick her up," and that was that.
Well, it sounds like she's able in California to do that and got her child back. So. Of course, Faye didn't find out until a year later, but they're so corrupt. She lost her daughter. She had to choose between her two children.
It's a simple fact that correct me if I'm wrong, she was a foster child herself, correct?
Yes, she was. Yes, she was.
That's all that matters. It doesn't even matter, and that's the point I'm trying to make. It has nothing to do with right or if they have warrants, they don't care about any of that. And I mean, that's just, I mean, it's harsh to say, but it is what it is. And there are things you can do to exercise your rights, like get an attorney. Now, in my case, I didn't have the luxury to do that because I just didn't have attorney money at the time. And some people do, some people don't. Yes, is it advisable to get an attorney? Yes, I totally. If you can, please do. You know, and if anybody, I recommend. I do, and I'm vouching for him. Vince W. Davis. Yes, he is awesome. He's been as far as I know, he's been an attorney since a little before. I'm 35, so as long as I've been alive.
Yeah, he's been practicing for 35 years. I'm just glad to have the success story on here to share with everybody. Unfortunately, Faye had a lot of things working against her. She was brought up in foster care 5 times. She was abused, molested, and tortured in foster care. She was sex trafficking. She had a horrible childhood life. And then she has 2 children, and she had to choose between one child over the other. How can you be a good parent with one child and a bad parent with the other? So she chose her son, who was a special needs, and she lost her daughter. And now her daughter, she hasn't seen her daughter, and she wants very much for her daughter to know that she still loves her daughter, and that was not her fault that her daughter was taken from her.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for anyone that's trying to fight for their kids, I'm pretty sure it's not.
I'm sorry, Faye, if I missed your comments. I don't know if they're transmitting or not. I've been looking at them, and you said it's mandatory in Kentucky for drug testing, and you proved the lies, but they still lost your daughter. I think a lot of things working against.
I want to make a point, but that shouldn't be the focus of this conversation because that's not what it's about. What I'm trying to say is I'm going to because I have so much experience, unfortunately, not because I was or is or am, but because of the simple fact, like I said, a anonymous phone call was made by somebody who just, alleged it, said that I was a drug user or whatever, drug addict, just like my mother, but maybe that has some sort of, connection. I don't know. But it is kind of strange, right? So there's that. And so basically what I learned throughout the time of each, I've heard, well, why did you keep having kids? Or, I mean, I don't know if you're thinking that, but I'm just saying what the things that I have heard throughout the years. And I never had to think about that because I never thought I had a guilt conscience about, I am that or I am a drug because I wasn't. So anyways, in California, there is an actual law specifically for that. And the law is California Penal Code 11165.13, and it states basically that any infant at the time of delivery or the birth for the mother or the infant to test positive at birth is not sufficient enough to make a child abuse report, and it's supposed to basically go to other departments. So it's supposed to go to anywhere else but CPS.
Yeah. There is a California law, Faye, that specifically states that testing positive, they cannot come after you for abusing your child. It's in California, and it's the penal code she just read off. Your case is very similar to her case, but she's in a different state, and I know a lot of times you and I have talked about California. Pardon?
Since her cases, how long has it been since her cases?
13 years she's been fighting. They just now reopened her case again. 13 years. She's not giving up.
Let her know that she still has a opportunity to get her kids back. I just found out myself, and I have an 11-year-old. And I just found
well, we like to explore that more, Brianna, but I got to go because my show time is fast approaching. I don't mean to cut this short, Faye. I thank you so much for calling in and listening. We can talk later, Faye, about this matter. Also, Brianna, could you please call in again and continue this last bit that you're talking about. It's so informative, and I'm so glad you're on my podcast. Thank you for coming. Thank you, all my listeners, for the thumbs up and the hearts. That's really appreciated. Emojis. I'll be on again tonight at 7:00 Pacific Standard Time. God bless y'all, and keep trying to get your kids back.